nice on the slide when I showed that, okay, yes, I did a bachelor's and then I moved, I changed countries and then I got to Cambridge, and it looks really nice, but I think the question that you would ask is that, was this a straight path? And the reason why I ask this question is that sometimes when we see people that are, attending this big universities in current, or people who have attained some level of success, whatever you call it, people tend to think that, oh, these people were just born different, or these people are just, smart from the very early on. But my journey wasn't a straight path, so I'd like to think of it as more of like, there are lots of things going on. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, perfect.
Great. Hello everyone. So this would be a nice transition from the material sciences to like the medical sciences. As I mentioned earlier, my name is Aisha and I'm a second year PhD student at the University of Cambridge, and my PhD is in the medical sciences. The medical sciences is super broad, so you could study anything and everything about the human body, but I specifically study cancer, and under cancer, I specifically study esophageal cancer. So before I go into that, I just want to talk a bit about myself and my academic journey. So I'm originally from Nigeria. I'm from the southwestern part of Nigeria, a really small town called Abeokuta. So Abeokuta is a very rocky place. So the good thing is that when you go rock climbing, you have a very beautiful view of the whole town because it's quite a small town relatively. So you can see like small houses and trees and stuff, which is really fun. So in 2016, I moved to Sweden to study biomedicine. At that time, I was 18. I got the scholarship to study at the Karolinska Institute. If I were to summarize my time in Sweden in a few pictures, it would be the snowstorms, because I had lived in Nigeria all my life, and Nigeria, like Africa in itself, is a warm place. It was such a pivotal part of my life because there were lots of things that I just had access to that I didn't have access to in the past. So yeah, even though the winter times were really tough, the sunset, the sunrises were things that I still miss to today. And yeah, so this is just like a nice summary of my time in Sweden. So this is the second and last slide about my the introductory part of this presentation, and basically this slide is just talk about my academic journey. So in June of 2019, I graduated from Karolinska Institute with a Bachelor's of Biomedicine, and in September 2019, I was awarded the Gates Cambridge Scholarship to study for a PhD in medical science at the University of Cambridge, and this was one of the most thrilling times in my life, to be very honest. And it looks nice on the slide when I show that, okay, yes, I did a bachelor's and then I moved, I changed countries and then I got to Cambridge, and it looks really nice, but I think the question that you would ask is that, was this a straight path? And the reason why I ask this question is that sometimes when we see people that are, attending this big universities in current, or people who have attained some level of success, whatever you call it, people tend to think that, oh, these people were just born different, or these people are just smart from the very early on, or these people are have some type of superpowers, and I can't be like these people because there's some special breed in current. But my journey wasn't a straight path, so I'd like to think of it as more of like there are lots of things going on, because when I moved to Sweden, as I hinted on briefly in my first slide, there were lots of challenges that I had to overcome. To start with, like the culture, the language was a barrier, but then aside from that, even after when I was able to pick up a few language skills here and there, take language courses, there was also the part of not really understanding what research entails, because I moved to Sweden knowing little to nothing about research. So even though I had some basic, because I did an A-level, right? I did A-level in biology, chemistry, and physics, and I had the template, the foundation to sciences, but there's a lot more to research than what you're taught in A-levels. And so I struggled a bit when I first moved to Karolinska Institute. I struggled a bit, and it took me a while to sort of understand the concept, the basic concepts. And it's not just understanding the concept, you also need some lab skills. So it's not enough for you to know the theory behind things, you also need some day-to-day lab techniques, lab skills. So for me it was challenging, but I'd like to think that because I felt like I was challenged, it sort of motivated me such that I had this goal in my head of where I wanted to be, and I allowed that goal to push me. So even if at that time it was challenging, I didn't understand most of the things that were happening, it's sort of, I think with this kind of thing, you can only think about it two ways. It's either you allow it to drain you and you allow it to make you feel like you're not good enough, or you use that as an empowering, like something to empower you and push you, and just to prove to yourself that yes, like I can do this, I can absolutely do this. So I'd like to think that I took the second road, even though sometimes, of course, I would not lie that there were times I doubted myself, it was challenging. But again, at the end of the day, I think the point of this slide is just to say that the journey to success most times is not linear, or it's not straightforward for most people. There's a lot of things that go in the background that you don't see, and sometimes when you're going through rough patches as well, when you have this big goal in your head, don't let those rough patches affect you, because it's all part of the journey. It's something that is natural to go through, and don't let it be something that would put you off from going to that dream school that you've always thought of, or taking that course that you've always dreamt of. So now that I've finished with the background introduction part, I would move on to what we study in my lab, which is esophageal cancer, and I will talk about the cytosponge actually, which is a really cool device that my lab developed.
Awesome. We'll wrap up in just a second, but the thing I like to ask all of our speakers on this series is if you could talk to your sort of 16-year-old self again and tell them one piece of advice, what would you tell them? So I'll ask both of you, so whoever wants to go first.
I'm just going to think. Okay, I just thought of one. Just because it takes long to achieve your dreams doesn't mean that you shouldn't have those dreams as a goal, because time will pass anyway.
Awesome. Thank you very much to both of you for joining us. I definitely learned loads about both material science and specifically about the cytosponge. That's really, really interesting. So thank you very much for joining us.
Pleasure. Great to meet you. Thank you. Bye. Hi guys. So I've just finished with my presentation. Alhamdulillah. It went quite well. Alhamdulillah. And the kids or the students had interesting questions, smart questions as always. It's always very nice to sort of do all of this outreach talk. So yeah, it went well. It was a different talk in the sense that I talked a bit about my personal academic journey. In the past, when I've given this kind of talks, I usually focus more on only the research thing in my lab. But for this one, they asked for us to talk about the panelists to talk about the academic journey. So I talked a little bit about my time in Sweden and just how it was for me transitioning from Nigeria, where I'm from, all the way to Sweden and all of that. So it was really nice. Like I had like 1 to 2 slides at the beginning talking about that, and just talking about it just made me remember the early days and just the humble beginnings in Kurt, and I just feel there's so much gratitude, alhamdulillah. And just on that note, I'm so thankful that my 4th deadline is out of the way, alhamdulillah. I'm so happy, honestly, because when I was thinking back to my calendar from the beginning of June, I was like, oh my god, June is going to be a crazy month. But alhamdulillah, you see, now I'm almost done with the month, and now I have just one deadline remaining. So regarding the second year report, I've done about 70% of the work. So for the past 3 or 4 days, I've just been writing back and forth, and even there were some times that I felt really exhausted, to be honest. I just wanted to get it done and over with. But alhamdulillah, I'm like 70% there. So now I sent a draft to my co-supervisor to have a look and leave his comment. So I'm waiting for him to do that. And now I've just told myself not to look at the draft again. So I've abandoned the draft somewhere on my OneDrive. And now I'm just going to, not look at the drive until when my co-supervisor has a look at it, and then I can read through its comments and make modifications. So I have to submit the second year report next week, Friday latest. I'm planning to submit it a day before, because I don't like to leave things last minute, but who knows, maybe I will end up doing that, who knows. But yeah, I'm going to resume lab work back tomorrow, inshallah, and yeah, we'll just take it from there. And I'm just so used to staying at home that I don't even know where to start from. So I've been doing a bit of like admin stuff, like getting samples, getting sample information and all of that from home. But I guess now is the time for me to pick back from where I stopped a month and a half ago. I think generally I'm going to round up the June series vlog here. By the time I upload this, I probably will have submitted my second year report as well, inshallah. And if you tagged along all through the June series. Thank you so much for tagging along. Your support means the whole world to me. I'll ask you to please help me to grow my channel by liking and subscribing if you have not subscribed. So if you like, YouTube knows that this is a good video and recommends it to more people to watch. I hope you remain safe and you're in the best of health. See you on my next one. Bye.